Welcome to Queen of the Camp, the podcast where confidence is reclaimed, self-worth is strengthened, and you rise into who you were always meant to be. Here, we learn from real stories, shared experiences, and the wisdom gained through life's journeys. I'm your host, Tisha Cueva, and this is your space for empowerment, connection, and becoming the queen of your own life. Welcome, and let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Queen of the Camp podcast. We are glad that you are here with us today. Today's guest is someone who truly understands what it means to bet on yourself and build something from the ground up while also leading with empathy along the way. Alex Devine brings real-world perspective on entrepreneurship, the kind that requires resilience, tough decisions, and the ability to understand people, not just outcomes. Because building something meaningful isn't just about strategy, it's about how you show up for others while you're doing it. In this conversation today, we're diving into what it really takes to grow something in real life, balancing ambition, empathy, and learning how both can actually drive stronger, more sustainable success. Alex, welcome to Queen of the Camp.
Thank you for having me. It was a great intro, better than I could write myself, for sure.
Well, you're a pretty amazing woman. So I'm just honored to have you here today and see what we can learn from you. And I'm excited when we get to the point in the podcast talking about empathy, because I think that is such a key element in leadership in business. And you've had that impressed upon your heart from a very young age. So it's something that's kind of been a North Star that's followed you through your career.
Well said.
So I'm wondering if you can start by telling us a little bit about your journey and, kind of maybe a few key events that have landed you where you're at today in your career.
Yeah, I'd love to share. I'll try not to wax poetic and a yapper. Just the important stuff. I always tell people in a self-loving way that I'm kind of a freak. In the business world, I always forget if I'm 33 or 34. I'm around there. I'm relatively young, and I'm fortunate to have achieved a lot in my career just because I kind of started early. So I grew up in small business. My mother is an incredible finance professional, as a CPA, and has owned many, many businesses. And my father works his butt off in all those businesses. So they had shrewd business minds and then worked actively in their businesses. So a big part of me growing up was sitting at the dinner table and kind of hearing my parents talk about the struggles of the day, employees, bills being due, inventory, the things that small business owners face. And then as a young person, I went to work because that's what you did. You work hard, you get rewarded. So started working early, and that helped me kind of develop this perspective where I was both an employee and I understood the employer's perspective. So that's kind of that first step of I see both sides. Maybe I can advocate for both sides. Maybe I could reason with both sides to get to a common outcome. So long story short, my childhood was very business centric, and I didn't realize you could do anything else other than go to business school and own businesses or run businesses. I thought that's what you did to have the life that you wanted. So in high school, I went to Running Start, took business classes, went to business school at Pacific Lutheran University here in Tacoma, got a business degree, and had an internship and was working full time before I graduated at a marketing agency. So I just went to worked. I just went to work, and there I had hobbies and friends and community, but I was very focused on achieving really in marketing and business. So very fortunate to be invested in and to grow and to learn through an internship. And then I kind of came up through the accounts department at that agency and learned the highest level of customer service. I'm naturally a people person and serve, but when you're managing, multi-million-dollar budgets, sometimes people aren't so nice. So we learned conflict resolution early. And then something you and I also have talked about is I was, freshly 21, 22, and was managing people twice my age, or people with children, people who had perspectives I did not have. So I had to adapt really quickly in order to not have a really contentious work environment and support people as a manager. So far out of my depth for most of my career. You gotta kind of learn fast. So fast forward 10 years later to all that work, I was the president of that organization, and we were acquired And then I was like, hey, I'm never going to do agency again. I was kind of burnt out, and then
Hmm.
went into corporate sales. Well, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And during that time, had my own consultancy. I decided to start my own business and support women in executive coaching, fashion, and marketing. My partner's creative, and now I'm back at agency full time. I'm the director of client success at an agency called 100%, which is a huge agency. So still in kind of like the creative competitive agency world to keep me busy. But kind of along the way, I've realized it's not all about work. I've been kicked around a little bit and had to like refine an identity outside of work and find myself here today, a much more balanced, healthy person. I think, even though I still work quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll dive
Yeah,
into that a little bit too, because I
yeah,
think that's really important. And I think you also actually graduated early too, because you're a
yeah.
little extra ambitious.
Freak. Yeah. Well, I wanted to get done. I wanted to go work and make money and live life, and so I was in a hurry. I was in a hurry for like a lot of my youth, I would say. Now I'm trying to slow down.
So now this is the important part that we'll come to that'll be great for our listeners in
Yeah.
a little bit too about how important it is uh, to have that self-care and
Yeah.
remember who you are. Yeah. So if someone were meeting you for the very first time, I mean that's a lot. Like you've when you think about your age and
Yeah.
what you just rattled off, girl, is a
It's
whole
a
lot
lot.
more.
It's too much.
It's a
Yeah.
whole
It's
lot
too
more
much.
than
Too
most
much.
people your age would have on their accomplishment list. But what would you want them to know about you besides the titles and the roles, besides the work part, right? The
Yeah.
Alex.
Besides the work part, that's fun. That's a good question. I think I know how I want people to feel, and that's heard. Like I think it's really important to create space for people and just listen. Like it's not about you. I'm genuinely curious in who you are and what you got going on. I don't really like need anything from you. I'm just here to listen. I hope that that's how people like feel after their first
Mhm.
conversation with me.
That can make people feel very appreciated too.
Yeah,
And that if you carry that over into work and not just personal, you're going to build long-term relationships with people
yeah, I agree.
because they're going to feel that you genuinely care about them as a person, that it's
Hmm.
you want to have a good working relationship, but it's beyond that. You want to have a good relationship with them as a human.
Yeah,
Which
yep.
also comes back to your empathy
It sure
thought
does.
process. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
all coming full
we're
circle
all doing
very,
our
very
best.
quickly in the first 5 minutes. Man, we're
Crushing it.
there. So let's talk a little bit about leadership because you started out very early. Well, I grew up in business, so I
Yeah.
understand what it's like. When I was 13, my parents went on vacation and they left me to run the businesses, like
Oh yeah.
legitimately run the businesses. And I knew how to do everything at that point except the bookkeeping.
Okay.
And that was crazy. So I understand what that pressure is like. And when you have positions of leadership early in life, you get some other perspectives that sometimes people don't understand until much later in a career. So, and I know you've worked with a lot of different companies, not just from where you've worked, but also because you're in a client-facing,
Yeah.
careers. So, how have you seen how leadership impacts employee culture?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I have seen a lot of different types of companies, and you have amazing people and can create amazing culture. I think in spite of bad leadership, there's always kind of room here, but good leadership allows companies to accelerate much faster and ultimately be more successful, more profitable, and just kind of hang on to people's passion a little bit longer, which is great for the bottom line, really, and great for the people inside. So there's lots of different ways to do leadership. I would say, like, I don't prescribe one way to be the right way. I think it depends on the person, the people they're leading, and whatever kind of memorandum of understanding they have to be successful. But it makes all the difference. I've been in organizations and worked with organizations with poor leadership for whatever reason, like there's just a disconnect or it's not efficient or people feel beat down and not motivated, and you just have, like, from a business perspective, attrition, obviously, which is expensive, lack of passion, and people don't give you their best ideas when they're not happy or don't feel supported or don't aren't well paid. There's lots of different ways we can fail as leaders, um, and then I think, like, um, I lost my train of thought there a little bit, but like good leadership is not only a positive for the business. I think like the detriment of poor leadership is you can cause actual damage to people. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. It's a responsibility that should be taken really seriously, and none of us are perfect leaders, but we should invest and learn and grow to be the best that we can be, because the ramifications for being a poor leader could be lasting on a human being, which I feel like is more important than making money in the business.
Right. And let's talk about that a little bit. So, when we have leaders that are not understanding, not listening,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and that's the first thing. Like, one, it's about listening, but there's also steps you have to take after you listen, right?
Yes.
It's not just hearing what the person says. Now you've also got to put action to that, right? So what are some of the most important things that leaders need to listen about when you think about your experience and different things that you've heard over the years? Like, what are maybe the top few things that really drive a difference in there?
That's a really good question. I'll speak from my experience. Leaders feel this responsibility for like the company to do well, right? Like at the end of the day, if we're succeeding, then the company is profitable and we can continue to have people to lead and we can invest in them and they can grow. So there's always this tension of like, I want to hear someone I'm leading, their perspective and their frustration, and I want to create a space for that. But in reality, sometimes what they're upset about, I might not be able to fix,
Right.
or I might not agree with what they're upset about, right? And so I think there's the actionable part. I love that you said that. I think there's create a space and listen and understand perspective, and then communicate very clearly what needs to happen next or why you can't change something. It's not enough to listen. I think you have to have a tangible path to support that person, or have a really frank, honest conversation with them. I always say clarity is kindness. That is, I hear you and I can understand how you're feeling. That does not contribute to business outcomes and goals, or your performance does not warrant reward for that. And here's why. You just have to kind of
So
be
those are
very, very clear. Yeah.
And those are tough conversations
Yeah,
to
of
have to
course.
tell someone, yes, I hear that you want this position or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but you don't have the background for it, or your performance isn't there. Those are tough decisions to make. And a lot of leaders will avoid
Yeah.
having that. So that's what you're saying, is that you have to be brave enough and courageous enough as a leader to address those things, even though it's going to be uncomfortable.
We have to make the right decisions for the greater good, and it's a weight to bear, and it takes some self-security. I think we're all humans and we're all fallible. We all bring our own historical emotional baggage into the workplace, whether we
Mm.
like to or not. And leadership could be misinterpreted as false power, or even insecurity. I'm really nervous about how this person that I respect feels about me, and I don't want to disappoint them, or they better listen to me because I'm in charge. So you really have to like gut check and be secure with who you are as a person, and then that allows you, I think, to have empathy and to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And good leaders are not self-deprecating. I wouldn't say that's not like a fair word, but I think in a position of power, sometimes you bite the bullet and you take the fall. You adapt your style to what that person needs, because that's how you get the best outcome, and they may not be capable or at that place yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the listening part is incredibly important, but equally important is the action.
Yeah.
So taking the action where you can, and if you can't, it's being clear and transparent.
Well said.
Hmm.
Well said.
And it sounds simple, but it's not always simple
It's hard.
to, you know, to have that happen in every situation. But yeah. Um, so I already know what your answer is going to be to this, but do you think empathy is a priority for a successful business? Is a business going to be successful without being empathetic to their employees and their clients?
It
And does it
is.
affect the bottom line?
It is very possible. Look at lots of Fortune 100 and 500 companies that have cultures that aren't super empathetic. So yes, you can. In fact, you may be more revenue wise successful if you don't have empathy. I think that's where like, being shrewd in business or this unfeeling type of culture can come in. I'd like maybe define empathy a little bit more. Like I'm yes, a very empathetic person. I genuinely care about people and I'm curious about them. I'm also very outcome oriented and motivated, and sometimes that outweighs people's feelings. So I think it's this balance. It's not that I'm like a soft-hearted, overly like empath. I love empathy. It's more, I think, just a realization that when you're working with human beings, there is going to be conflict. They are going to disagree with you. You're going to come with different perspectives. And so when I say like empathy in business, it's more just understand that that's the case, assess the situation, and then figure out how we move towards a common outcome. And it's just not, don't take it so personally. It's just, there are
It's
facts.
business.
There are two perspectives. Yeah. Yeah. And so in business empathy, I guess that's what I mean. We have to care about people to keep them around to some degree, unless you are, imprisoning them with like high salaries or a place they can't leave. There's lots of scenarios like that. I certainly think businesses are healthier long term and will have more sustainable success if they are empathetic. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. Yeah, I think we have a cameo visitor that's popping in for a moment.
Hi, Angel.
Oliver, did you want to say hi?
Oliver. Let me
Well,
see.
thank you for stopping in.
Let's
We're gonna have a little empathetic
trade
break for the oh
for
look,
dogs.
Oliver, your friend. Look.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oliver's had a sleepy morning. He's been a little tired this morning.
Oliver.
Did you not rest well last night? Oh,
Dog time.
that's so cute. What's your pup's name?
This is Pepito.
Pepito, ¿cómo estás?
It's Morgan.
Oh my gosh. I think Pepito and Oliver would be good friends. They're both
I
little.
think so. It's the Chewini here, so they're like distant cousins.
Yeah, exactly. Oliver, can I set you back down? And goodness gracious. Well, there we go. Well, that was a fun little break. Okay. All right. Where were we? All right. Thank you all. Thank you for the visit with us. I love working from home because I just got this new chair that has
Uh-huh.
arms that go down. So you
Yes.
can like sit sideways,
Oh,
you
I
can
love those.
sit normal, it
Yeah.
leans back, and it's perfect for Oliver.
Yes.
He can just sit next to me. So he's a little wiener dog. So it's like I've got a hot dog in the bun right
Yep.
next to me. So I can just kind of angle. It's great. I love my chair.
Like
And my
simple
back has
pleasures.
stopped hurting. So it's amazing.
Drop the link.
Yeah, I will drop the link at the in because I'm here to tell you it's amazing. Okay, so I think that makes sense. Where we were at was, being empathetic doesn't mean that we can do whatever someone wants, because there's no keeping everybody happy, but
No.
it's just making sure that you've got that thread through your business of caring for your people. And I think it draws more people, more desirable people to want to work for you, right? More people that are going to be there long term because they're happier, they're healthier, and they have a more well balanced life, which I think and I had the same thing happen to me as well. Where when I started, now we've got a squeaky toy. This is not good. Okay, Oliver, you're fired. Um,
Dogs.
so where you're so driven that all you're thinking about is the next deal, the next business deal, and that's just kind of where you're at, and you forget to have that work life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important that companies have that be a thread that goes through, and it draws people that are willing to stay working for a lot more years.
Yeah.
And so you have people that are experienced and whatnot. So yeah, I agree with you that it's important. So I was going to ask you what strong leadership looks like, but I think we pretty much covered that. So we're there on that one. What separates people who walk into a room who are truly heard from those who are overlooked?
It's a really good question, and you've asked me this before. I think it's a very it's a unique take on it. My answer for me anyway is competence versus confidence. It's people can be loud and have a lot to say without any you know substance, without any meaning in what they're saying. So I don't think it's about like delivery, and it's much more about, do they want to listen to you? Do they respect you? Do they think you know what you're talking about? Regardless of like how it comes out of your mouth, it could be very meek and mild, where you never speak up, or very forceful. Do people believe what you're saying? Are you genuine? And do you have like any context or background or foundation for the words that you're saying? And I think that naturally allows people to listen to you a little bit easier. So I would say know
Right.
what you're doing and be consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if somebody is feeling that way, they need to look at how competent they are, their delivery and what they're saying about what they're talking about, and if there's anything they need to do to further their
Yeah.
education or their learning or their knowledge
Maybe.
base on that.
If,
But I think
yeah.
that makes sense because I thought you were going to say confidence, and but what you're saying in competency is much more correct, and it's a lot more true. Um, in I think it's a more correct answer.
Yeah, I think it's also the people in the room. So if you're not feeling heard, there could be other factors for
True.
that. It depends on the room, depends on who's controlling the room, who's talking in the room. So knowing your audience well and what they will listen to, and adapting your tact to make sure you are listened, is also a good way to do it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Um, where do you think belief in yourself comes into play? Because, that's the difference kind of between competency and confidence.
Yeah,
And how do you build that when either of those aren't there?
I I love this question. I do a lot of coaching, and this is fundamental. So from my perspective, I was born, I always like laugh about this, but way too self-confident. I don't know where this came from, but out the womb, I was like, I can do anything. Not no one can tell me anything, but I can do anything. I just have this like supernatural concrete belief in myself. And then as I have aged and gone through trials and tribulations, has become more shaken or shakable. I think I'm still very confident, but I have been humbled by life, and now I feel like a lot more balanced. For a lot of folks, that's the opposite. They don't think they can do anything because they have no context for that, or someone was awful to them and broke down that self-esteem. Sometimes it's not internal. Um, and for me, I think it is taking risks and trying things and going through experiences. And then here's the most important part: reflect. Not what did I do and how am I going to do it again, but just acknowledge that you did something hard. You came through something hard. Even if the experience wasn't positive, if it was negative, you did it. And now you have context that you could do something like that or even harder again. So I think we kind of stack up like self confidence coins through our lives,
Mhm.
or I would like to think about it like that. And then you kind of have this really beautiful foundation that anything that comes your way, you can handle because you did that. But acknowledgement and stopping for reflection and self forgiveness too. If you didn't handle that situation the way you wish you would, let's give ourselves some grace. That's also a good way to reflect as well. And then we keep moving forward. You can't get stuck.
You
Got to
just
keep
have to
going.
keep trying,
Mm-hmm.
keep trying, keep
Mm-hmm.
trying. And I think that's for the the listeners that I have, I think that's the key important lesson for them to learn, right? So when you see someone that's successful and that has accomplished a lot, it's not because that person just automatically knew how to do everything and everything was handed to
So
them.
true.
You've accomplished a lot, but you've done so because you've had bumps in the road. And the difference
Yeah.
is, did you let those bumps stop you?
Right. Yeah, it's tenacity certainly, and acknowledgement of the privilege. I think like I'm very lucky. I knew what it looked like to run a business. I had a CPA I could call. I was very fortunate to have mentors around me. I'm naturally confident. It was kind of like a, well, who's going to stop me type attitude. So like I can understand why I accelerated with my personality type and my privilege. And now I'm kind of wrestling with that and making sure I'm spreading the love and reciprocity. Like who could I support either in
Mm-hmm.
coaching or just like giving people opportunities that maybe did not have that privilege. So it's an evolution. It's an evolution, but the tenacity remains the same. I still very much am like, well, who's going to stop me if I
Right.
want to try something? And that's served me well and also got me in trouble.
Yeah, I understand that firsthand. I
Yeah.
understand that firsthand. What do you think has challenged you personally the most? in becoming successful? And that might be different from when you were younger
Mhm.
to now, and what types of things challenged you?
It's a good question. I think I struggled a lot with identity throughout my career. As the pattern that I described early on here in our conversation was, I just put my head down and went. I was business. That's all I was. I was just work. That's what I wanted to talk about. That was my identity. And so when the company I was at for 10 years was acquired, and I lost that identity, scary. And there was like a lot of other life changing stuff going on for me as well, spiritually, physically, mentally. It kind of all changed at once, and I had to really like grieve the loss of that identity, which was good for me. Like it's
So
put me in a much better spot.
so tell us a little bit about that, because you were at that company for a long time,
Hmm.
right? So you started out young being there, and then just you worked a lot. And tell us a little bit about that, because
Yeah.
there's, I think, the layers that built that, and then there's the layers that you had to deal with after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I say identity, I think I not only was proud because I spent 10 years at the company and made it what it was, but I was also in charge, right? And that's that hubris thing that we talk about at leaders. There was no question. Alex knew where all everything was, and you went to her with questions, and she was the authority. And so I led that company, and also that company wasn't mine. So I spent also my youth overworking for somebody else's company. Love that person. They're a dear friend and mentor to me to this day, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. But I wasn't taking home profit from that company, and when it sold, I didn't get anything. And so there's all those factors when you look up and it's over. Like, okay, well, I'm not in charge of anything. I don't know what to call myself. I'm not left with anything from the sale and all this hard work. And I don't resent that, but it's such a good foundational lesson in
Good
business that
lesson.
I wouldn't do that again or do it in the same way. I would still work as hard, but I have to think about equity. I was also in my
Hmm.
20s, so like, girl, that's where grace comes in.
Right.
So proud of her, past Alex, for that. And she would do it differently in the future and has. So just like feel it all, I guess. I felt it all, but you do go through like a grieving period. Like I was upset, I was angry, I had to phone a friend about it. I had to like, go out and rock karaoke about it. Like we had to go through all these stages. And then, but I would say the path I ended up on after, still on the path. I never saw for myself, but it was very removed of ego. I was like, all right, the next job, I just need to make a certain amount of money and I'm going to go explore other passions. I'm going to take like Pilates teacher training and like maybe be a dog walker. I don't know. I'm going to do corporate sales in the meantime. And I don't care about it. And that was the first time like I didn't care about my job. I still performed with excellence because that's an intrinsic part of me. But my identity wasn't tied to it. And it really freed me up to like get to know myself better as an adult, like an adult woman in my 30s who had like been married too young and got a divorce after 10 years, and I lost 135 pounds in this time frame also because I had
These are
bariatric surgery.
huge.
Just like, if we're gonna do it, we did it all. Met my soulmate at the same, like just weird time. A lot was going on, but I am grateful for when it all kind of fell apart. I was afforded time to focus on other areas of my life, and I am so much happier, healthier in every aspect of my life now because I had a massive breakdown for a year. I just like rebuilt from the ground up while keeping all my same traits or principles that I believe in. So
That's a
it was
huge
a lot.
trans
I don't know.
that's a huge
It was.
transformation.
Yeah.
So basically, you just kind of were so absorbed in work, and that was the focus. And then when that just like got cut off, because you would have kept going with that into your 30s, if that company would have kept going, that's how your life would have
Absolutely.
been today.
Absolutely. Yep.
So in a way, it was kind of a blessing, because
Yeah.
now you've got a better, you're more in touch with yourself. And sometimes we don't see those when the door shuts, the story, when the door shuts, another
Yeah.
door opens, but
Yeah.
you just don't always realize, what it's scary. You don't know what's behind, what is behind the door that just shut, but you don't know what's in front of you. And that's the part where you have to, take those risks that you were talking about, and,
So well said.
have that confidence in yourself to say, I'm going to, no matter what, I'm doing this. I will figure out a way. And that's one thing about you. You will find a way.
We'll find a
I'm
way.
not sure what that way is going to be, but Alex is going to find the path,
We're gonna
and
figure it
she's
out.
going to get on it, and she's Gonna move ahead. We're gonna get to the destination. Um, I think that's a powerful answer. And then, are there things now that are you just working on, making sure now as as an adult, not and then not that you're not an adult in your 20s, but that's just a baby in
No.
a
Yeah,
very
your
big
brain's still
corporate
developing.
role.
Yeah,
So
brain's still
now,
developing.
are you focused on, driving business, but making sure that you keep that time for yourself? That is something I have to work on.
I
It's
I love this question. So now it's really funny. I always like I got burnout. Client work at agency is really tough. It's emotionally draining. If people listening aren't familiar with it, it's just the highest level of customer service. Like any customer service job that you've had, people are paying you millions of dollars to take care of them emotionally and provide outcomes for their business. Very serious about money, but it's creative, so it's subjective. So experts who have studied for years and years can make you something that they believe in and know will work in the market. And you could say as a client, well, I don't like it because arbitrarily or right, it's
Mhm.
not as cut and dried as working with a lawyer or an accountant, although we think of agency time in terms of hours. So doing it 10 years with different levels of literacy with clients is tough. It's draining, and I swore I'd never do it again. And funny enough, I had like my healing time, as we talked about, and was given the opportunity to go back into accounts at an executive level at an agency I really believe in. Like some of the most talented people I've ever worked with. They blow me away constantly, and we all respect each other, and so we do that work together. And so I find myself back in accounts, and it's kind of beautiful and full circle because I'm doing it, I think, in a much more healthy way. So back to your question, I've gone back to a passion and something I've done for 15 years now in an environment that is supportive and elevated in a way I never thought I would get to. It's really beautiful. So I'm just like really loving it and enjoying it and staying up till midnight, to send final links of videos. But I'm in the trenches with my crew that like is also there, and I miss that. That was like some of the pure joy that I had in my 20s at agency, and it's really fun to revisit that in a
So
healthy
you have
way.
that positive energy.
Yeah, so I love
And
that in my career. So good. And then yes, I wanted to. You brought up a really good point. I had a mentor once say to me, "Don't let anybody ever make you feel bad for working a ton if that's what you're passionate about." And she said, "Everyone's capacity is different, and yours is higher. And like, don't apologize for that." I was like,
oh,
"Oh, powerful, powerful, powerful." So it's not like work all the time, but if you are passionate about your work and there's a lot to do and you see a chance to advance or to improve what you're doing, work on a Saturday, work on a Sunday, work when work needs to be done, but integrate joy and care and health and fitness and into that work schedule. If you want to work 80-hour week, good on you, but make sure you like touch grass. Did you make yourself dinner? Do you feel like fulfilled? Did you do what you wanted to do in absence of just working? So as long as it doesn't consume you, you work as much as you want, and I empower you to do so. And I just that's always stuck with me. It's really work life integration is like the core principle there. But that's I try and do that. I'm not always the best at it, but I try and do that.
that is one of the most powerful things someone has said on my podcast.
It's still like shout out to my mentor, love her, but it's
Uh,
given me permission to work hard and not feel bad about it.
right.
Yeah,
Especially for people that have a really high work ethic
yeah,
and take a lot of personal, I don't know what the right word is. I guess, I mean, joy, yes, but it's also, there's, satisfaction,
and
there's,
pride. Yeah,
and pride. And there's also like for you, like when where you're in sales, and I did sales for a lot of
yeah.
years, there is nothing more exciting to me in business than the thrill of the deal.
Closing the
There's
deal, ringing
nothing.
the bell.
Oh yeah, like when you finally put everything together and both sides are happy and you've put something together that's beautiful and you're going to make, your margins on it, like woohoo. Okay, shopping, Nordstrom's, let's go. Did it.
What you
Like
can
there's
do with that. Yeah,
what you can do with that, not just from a finance standpoint, but also from a career, a business, like what the team's going to do, what you're going to do or
yeah.
create or deliver or whatever. Like that's just, to me, that's exciting. So I can see why that a person, different people have different levels of enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing something that you're passionate about, you shouldn't criticize yourself for that, and have grace. And everyone has different capacities.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's
Wow.
okay. Like some people are like, I don't want to work that way. I'm gonna put in my time and make my paycheck and spend time doing other things. I think that's incredible. It's amazing as well. And we all have permission to do that, to integrate work and life the way that we feel is healthiest for us. And I thought that was just so powerful and something I still like regurgitate to people all the time. It's like, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Your capacity is different.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that one. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like different people need different
Yep.
amounts of sleep, right? So some people can get more things done and certain things because they require 5 hours of sleep. That's not me. I like my 9 hours of beauty sleep.
Yeah. I'm a 5 hour girl, unfortunately. I'm
See,
trying to be better
that's why
about
your
that.
capacity is so high.
I need more hours in the day.
How important is claiming your worth and understanding your value in the workforce and also balancing that for yourself?
It's good. It's incredibly important. I think claiming looks different, and I think some people are hesitant to claim because they think it's this big, like an X claim, like I have to yell out loud that I am worthy, or it looks like combative. I think especially for like women in the business world, it's
Hmm.
I know what I am worth and how I am willing to be treated, even to get to that resolution is amazing, and I still work on that. But it doesn't have to look like aggressive, or maybe it does for you. I think that's similar to the capacity discussion. If you internally understand a bar you're setting for yourself of what you contribute and what you're worth, that's plenty. Advocate for yourself when it matters, and however that looks in your personality, in your tone, in your style, who you talk to about it, just make sure you're doing it. But there's no like right way. I think is where people get confused. There's not like march into the boss's office and demand X. Again, going back to empathy, it's more understanding the factors at play and making your best possible business case. And that's part of your worth. So a lot of times people in that case, when they're struggling to accept their worth in a workplace, it's a money conversation or a promotion conversation, advancement, that kind of thing, right? And we're often selfish as human beings. And so well, I deserve it. We come with entitlement, which is probably warranted. No shame there. But I encourage people to go one step further and use that empathy and go, okay, well, who the person I'm talking to about this opportunity I want, what do they care about? What are the factors in their mind? And how can I appeal to them and get what I want? It's a negotiation, right? We talked about this a little bit. What
True.
am I going to come to this to remove emotion? The emotions are there, they're good. Acknowledge them, cool. Move past emotion. What are the facts? Are you contributing value? Are you contributing to the bottom line? If that's a factor, right? Have you done everything? You hit your success metrics? What possible arguments could this person have? And let's address them one by one in whatever way is natural to your personality. And that's how we get somewhere in negotiation, regardless of like who you are or how you feel. So that's like the unfeeling side of business. I would agree in this case. Be a human,
Yes.
emote, sure. But like when it is about an objective business decision, make a business case, not an emotional case. And you will get
Yeah.
much further. Yeah.
Yeah, even yeah, that's really true because you and also when you're looking at your worth, first you need to
Mm-hmm.
understand what your worth is internally,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to treat it like if, especially if it's like for a promotion or something like that,
Yeah.
you have to treat it like a business
Yep.
negotiation. And then you have to listen and know what does the business need from me? Did I deliver it? That's very true.
It's
Very good
true.
answer. Very good answer. If there's one thing that you would like people to learn from our conversation today, what would that be? What would you like for people to have as a takeaway?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. That like success is not linear and success is defined internally. You don't need to like be a certain way to be successful. You don't have to be in business, period, to be successful. Success can look so many different ways. And people in this world um, are people and struggle and have breakdowns and fail. And you're not doing anything wrong or the right way. I think you don't need to emulate a certain style. If something inspires you, great. But we're all just trying to figure it out and stack up those confidence coins, I guess. Like just try something, reflect on it, celebrate what went well, and do something else. And so it goes in the circle of life.
That is a
Yeah.
beautiful answer. Just keep
Just keep going.
trying. Keep
Just keep
going.
going. And have
Keep
fun along
going.
the way. Whatever you want to do, do it.
That sounds amazing. And have time with the dogs.
Dogs, if that's your bliss, you follow it.
That sounds great. Alex, thank you so much for today. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
all your insights. You are an amazing, accomplished young woman, and I am honored to have you today as a guest. And thank you for sharing all your beautiful insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and for your trust. Appreciate you.
You're, you're welcome.